Shame on it!
Hello again, I am Blunty. This is Far Cry New Dawn, the very first true narrative sequel in the Far Cry franchise. It follows on from the world-changing events at the climax of Far Cry 5. It's set in the same region, on the same map, although, thanks to said world-changing event, explicitly a whole bunch of giant earth-searing nuclear explosions going off, and subsequent recovery of nature while most of the people hunkered in bunkers waiting for the surface to be livable again, it has drastically altered the landscape. Which means it's both familiar, if you played Far Cry 5, and fresh all at the same time. But just because it is a narrative sequel does not mean it's hostile to new players jumping on board having never played Far Cry 5, so don't worry about that. Of course, naturally, those who did play Far Cry 5 will draw more out of the return of familiar characters, or their offspring, and will feel a bit of wonderful nostalgia and chunks of memory flooding back when you come across a still-standing chunk of familiar landmarks, like some churches or a certain conspiracy theorist's eccentric technological feats. There is enough natural exposition from NPC characters and various notes and other context clues around the place that I think most new players won't feel confused or lost about the prologue at all. But again, it will certainly be a richer, more emotionally rewarding experience if you carry with you everything that happened in Far Cry 5. But it is not, again, essential to enjoy this game. Its characters, its environment, and story. The world feels lived in, alive. Everywhere there's a sense of history and tragedy and hope and optimism. The characters, much like its predecessor, all feel very genuine, even the batshit crazy ones.
I know what you're thinking. She's got the body of a 30-year-old, but a face like a scrotum that got left out in the sun. But whether you believe it or not, you're looking at the best shooter in what's left of this miserable planet. You can call me Nana. Everyone needs someone looking out for them out here. Even me, once in a blue moon. You consider me part of the family. I'll look after you, kiddo. Maybe I'll collect some more highwaymen skins for the quilt I'm making. You'll never know if I'm kidding.
Now, I don't think, at least in my experience so far, of about 7 hours worth of game time, I don't think there's quite the same level of humour in this as there was in 5. But it has already managed to crack me up a couple of times. And even the writing for those NPCs whose only real job is to trigger map locations for secret stashes or strongholds and the like are done really well. Each has a slice of narrative, a believable bit of context for the whys and whos of said location, and a honest bit of delivery from the voice actor. In short, the open world here is more than just a map full of the usual Ubisoft collectathon and control points. I mean, it is that. Obviously, it's still a Ubisoft game, but it's executed in one of the best, most fluidly narrative-enhancing ways that I have experienced yet. Mechanically, of course, it feels more or less identical to Far Cry 5, being built on the same engine, which means I'm very happy with the way things look, feel, sound, and the gunplay and general combat. It all feels very satisfying, just like it did in 5. They've updated some of the interface stuff to make things flow a bit more smoothly and naturally, but by and large, it's a solidly familiar setup. Personally, you may have noticed with most of this gameplay, I've started zeroing in on a stealthy approach with a silenced pistol, silenced combat rifle, and my very favourite melee weapon of all time, the smiley shovel of skull bonging.
Shovely Joe.
Shout out to my Twitch stream peeps, Shovely Joe returns! I also carry a shotgun for close-up run-and-gun moments and a rocket launcher for the true panic button moments. And I have been having a bunch of fun with it. It's rare to find a game that is so satisfying whether or not you choose to go in stealth mode ninja or flat-out screaming bullet-hell Rambo psychopath. It's one of those things I love most about Far Cry 5. It just adapts to every kind of playstyle seamlessly, and there aren't many games that do that. A lot of games that have both options do one far better than the other. But this does what Far Cry 5 does with that stuff and builds upon it very solidly. And of course there's all kinds of weapons to choose from knives and bows right through to automatic assault rifles, snipers, machine pistols, and various kinds of throwables. But things have been tweaked in this post-apocalyptic world. The economy has moved to crafting and scavenging and hunting and material exchange systems. The general idea here is that the more specialists you rescue and recruit, And the more enemy strongholds you take over, the more of the precious resource, fuel, ethanol, that you have, you can then spend that on upgrading your home base, which then unlocks higher tiers of crafting weapons, or boosting health, or better vehicles, or stronger guns for hire AI partners, and all that kind of stuff. Essentially, they've built an RPG-style leveling progression tree right into how successful you are in building a safe community. And that's pretty neat. You also gain access to expeditions, missions that take part well outside the core map, so there's extra little satellite mini-maps you can go visit. Sadly, the infection that is microtransactions is here too, and it's not just cosmetics either. You can pay real money for materials and skip actually playing part of the game properly, skipping a bit of the grind and exploration basically by just buying materials you need to craft stuff and build stuff and upgrade. In my time so far, I have seen absolutely no reason to do so. It sits there as an ugly reminder of the cynical, money-grubbing facts of the gaming industry today, and the grey-faced people in suits who just never play games but want to squeeze as much money out of them as possible. But it is at least seemingly free of the gross way they stalled out progression in the much maligned recent Assassin's Creed Odyssey game. It seems like here you can very safely ignore the microtransaction stuff, and you probably should. Send them a message. It doesn't belong in games like this. On other critical lines, I've seen criticism of the usual idiot types who constantly look for things to be edgy and bitter about, claiming that this game is nothing more than a Far Cry 5 DLC cynically sold as a full-price game, or that it's a cheap rush job using existing assets, or a simple reskin of Far Cry 5, that kind of crap, you know. And I have to say to that, well, nothing really, because those idiots can talk themselves all the way out of playing this game for all I care. That kind of ignorance and willful dumbassery isn't worth trying to converse with or correct. It just means they're missing out on a really fun game, and I don't. At the time of writing, I'm just over 7 hours in. I've exposed maybe a quarter of the map, which I haven't fully explored yet in itself, and it's still packed with stuff I need to go find and do and explore and search. And I've only just started the second chapter, so that alone should tell you it's a bit more than just a DLC spun out to a full-length game. There's tons of content here. And before you even finish the first introductory section, it's clear that it's much more than a mere reskin. Yes, it undoubtedly uses some existing assets. Yes, it's built upon the bones of the existing Far Cry 5 map. It's a direct narrative sequel. Of course they've done that. It takes place in the same location. Of course they would build on top of what they already built. Only a fool would reinvent a whole game from scratch, from the drawing board, when they already have done a bunch of work on the predecessor that they can use to make this. A game of this depth and quality and polish a mere year after Far Cry 5? That wouldn't have happened unless they'd done a bunch of work beforehand, would it? Of course, if Ubi had gone back to the drawing board and started from scratch, these exact same people would probably be whining and bitching and throwing stones about how long it's taking for a new Far Cry game. Like I said, just twats looking for things to piss pants about because they're fake gamers who have long forgotten the most important question about gaming. Is it fun? And the answer here is yes. It's fun. Lots of fun. Satisfying, shovel, face smashing fun. I really am rather enjoying it quite a lot. I had large piles of fun with Far Cry 5, both on my own quiet game time and on live stream over on Twitch channel, both in single player mode and in co-op mode, and co-op mode of course is here as well. And this offers more of the same without feeling like I'm just replaying 5 but with more lush greenery and weird looking mutant animals and lots of flowers. Far Cry New Dawn is an open world light RPG shooter that's well worth playing in my opinion. And if you are curious to see more, I am also uploading videos of uncut gameplay, basically, and I will be streaming it over on the Twitch channel, of course, twitch.tv/BluntNate, same as my Twitter handle. Thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.
Shit! I'm gonna fuck up your... Down there!
Heads up, we got a chopper coming in.
Hey.
Mercy!